You ever look at the world and wonder how America just seems to stay on top? In tech, in military power, in economic influence? Well, let me tell you, it is absolutely not an accident. It's all part of a very deliberate, very long-term strategy, one that's working on a timeline that's basically 20 years ahead of everyone else.
So, what is this kind of hidden strategy? Well, you can think of it like a powerful and, yeah, often invisible blueprint. It's been shaping the world we live in today for decades, and it's actively building the world of tomorrow as we speak. So, let's break this thing down piece by piece.
All right, let's dive right in. The absolute heart of this whole thing is a philosophy, a mindset that is just fundamentally different from how most other governments and even most big companies think. It's all about planning in 20-year chunks, looking way, way beyond the immediate future.
So, what does that actually mean? It means pouring tons of money into these foundational projects that might not pay off for decades. It's like an architect building a skyscraper. You don't start with that fancy penthouse suite, right? No, you spend years, literally years, getting the foundation perfect. A perfect example is the Human Genome Project, a huge public investment back in the 90s that's only now giving us these massive breakthroughs in medicine. And here's the key. It's all about proactively creating the future, not just sitting back and reacting to it.
And this really shows you the incredible scale of that thinking. Your average company, they're thinking 5 years out, maybe. A huge infrastructure project like a bridge or a dam, 10 years. But America's strategic horizon is over 20 years. I mean, look at these examples. GPS, the internet, the very foundations of AI. These things didn't just pop up overnight. They were born from decades of patient strategic investment, a lot of it through places like DARPA, often with no obvious commercial use at the very beginning.
So, how do you actually power a vision that big? Well, that brings us to the next critical piece of the puzzle, a massive, self-sustaining innovation engine. This is the thing that turns a 20-year plan from just a dream into a concrete reality. And this engine, it runs on two essential fuels: deep, fundamental scientific research, and this part is absolutely crucial: sustained, long-term funding. You can't just throw a pile of cash at a problem for 1 year and expect some world-changing breakthrough. Nope. This strategy depends on decades of consistent, multi-billion-dollar support that gives scientists and engineers the freedom to explore, to fail, and then eventually to innovate. And you've got these incredible hubs, places like MIT, Stanford, the NASA labs. But they're not just isolated islands of geniuses. They're all connected nodes in this huge network. This entire system acts like a global magnet, just pulling in the brightest minds from all over the planet. It creates this powerful ecosystem where the next big ideas are born and actually get developed. But look, creating game-changing technology is really only half the battle. You also have to protect it. You have to leverage it. And that brings us to the other pillars of this 20-year strategy: a fully integrated military and economic shield that's also designed for the long haul. Let's talk about the military approach for a sec. Most countries have what you'd call a reactive policy. A crisis flares up and they respond. The 20-year strategy is proactive. It's about shaping the entire global environment decades in advance to stop conflicts before they even start and to ensure the kind of stability you need for long-term growth. It's really the difference between being a firefighter and fireproofing the entire city. And believe me, these proactive investments are happening right now. We're talking about next-gen satellites that are being designed for the world of tomorrow, cyber defense systems being built for threats that don't even exist yet, and global alliances that are meant to create a stable world for decades. Every single one of these is a piece in a much, much larger puzzle, all designed to guarantee security way out into the future. Now, the economic plan follows that exact same long-term logic. It all starts with these massive investments in foundational tech, things like advanced computing and biotech. That, in turn, helps create the conditions for dominant global companies to emerge. I mean, just think about how government research paved the way for giants like Apple and NVIDIA. Those companies then help shape the global trade systems in their favor, which ultimately secures America's economic leadership for the next generation. It is a very deliberate step-by-step process. Okay, so we've looked at the mindset, the engine that powers it, and the shield that protects it. So what is this all actually building toward? Let's take a little peek into the future that this strategy is trying to create. Let's look ahead to the world of, say, 2045. The ultimate goal is, well, it's simple, but it's also incredibly ambitious: to be perfectly positioned for leadership in whatever the next global paradigm is going to be.
See, it's not just about winning the game we're playing today. It's about being ready to write the rules for the next game long before it even starts.
And this chart here gives us a pretty good idea of where those long-term bets are being placed right now. We're talking about aiming for leadership in an AI-driven economy, which is already changing, well, everything. Then you've got the commercial space industry, where private companies are launching rockets, which is just amazing. Think about advanced transportation, like autonomous cars, and of course, the huge race to dominate clean energy. The really incredible thing to remember here is that the seeds for leading in these exact sectors were planted years, sometimes even decades ago. And that really brings us to this final, really powerful idea. This 20-year strategy, it isn't about perfectly predicting the future. No one can do that. It's about building a foundation that's so strong, an innovation engine that's so powerful, and a strategic position that's so secure that you're prepared for change, long before it ever arrives. So I guess the real question isn't just what the future holds, but who is out there building it right now?